What is a Slovak nut roll recipe? Essentially, a nut roll is a sweet dough that usually uses milk. With that, you can roll it thinly and spread it with a paste made from ground nuts and honey. Likewise, you can roll it out like a log. In addition to that, it resembles a jelly roll but has more layers of dough and filling. Slovak nut roll is a delicious sweet bread with a nutty filling. For that reason, this recipe is popular in Central European cuisines. Not only that, but also you can serve this traditional pastry at weddings, Easter, and Christmas. So with that, share this recipe with your family and friends. Slovak bread. For the most part, traditional Slovak bread will have an oval shape and it typically weighs about 1 kilogram. However, nowadays, most prefer smaller Slovak bread. Nevertheless, it is irresistibly delicious since it has a light texture and a shiny golden crust. What you will need in making Slovak nut roll recipe. For the dough: 1 teaspoon of dry yeast, ½ cup of lukewarm milk, 3 tablespoons of vanilla sugar, 2 cups of all-purpose flour, 2 tablespoons of oil, extra oil for brushing, 2 teaspoons of baking powder, water. For the filling: 3 cups of walnuts, 3/4 cup of sugar, milk as needed. Step-by-step instructions. Step 1. Before anything else, add the flour, baking powder, vanilla sugar, yeast, oil, and milk to a mixing bowl. Step 2. Then, use an electric mixer attached with a hook attachment. Or you can mix by hand until you can form a dough. Step 3. After that, add a little bit of water, about 1 tablespoon at a time. Make sure to do this until the dough no longer sticks to the bowl. Step 4. Afterward, take a bowl and dust it with flour. Then, put the dough into the dusted mixing bowl. Cover the mixing bowl using a cling film or cling wrap for 2 hours and let the dough rise. Step 5. Grind the walnuts and add them to another bowl. And mix it with sugar and a little milk, just enough to make a thick and spreadable consistency. Cover and set it aside. Step 6. After 2 hours, you can take the dough out of the mixing bowl and put it over a floured working surface. Then, flatten the dough using your rolling pin or your hands. Afterward, brush the dough with oil using a pastry brush. Step 7. Fold the flattened dough, flatten it again using a rolling pin, and brush with more oil. Afterward, fold the dough again and knead it for a while or until the oil incorporates well into the dough. Then, cut the dough into 2 even portions if you want to make 2 small Slovak nut rolls. Or you can skip this part if you are planning to make a big one. Step 8. Take 1 portion of the dough and create a rectangle. Next, roll out the dough and flatten using a rolling pin to make a big sheet. With that, ensure that the width of your dough can fit on your baking sheet pan or baking tray. Afterward, take the walnut filling and spread it over the dough using a rubber spatula or an offset spatula. With that, ensure that the filling covers the entire dough. As a result, it will leave about ½ an inch or 1 centimeter on the edges. Step 9. Turn your dough, making sure that the long side of the dough is facing towards you. Then, begin rolling up the dough, making sure that you are rolling it tightly, tucking in, and sealing the edges. Transfer the Slovak nut roll to a baking sheet pan. Or place it on a baking tray lined with parchment paper. Ensure that the seam is on the bottom. Step 10. Brush the roll with oil and let it sit for another 30 minutes. While waiting, preheat your oven to 400 degrees Fahrenheit or 200 degrees Celsius. Step 11. Afterward, place the Slovak nut roll inside the oven and bake it for 25 minutes. Or until it reaches a deep golden color. If necessary, turn down the heat when the nut roll begins to reach a light golden color. Then, please take it out of the oven and brush it with oil. This process will allow the crust to soften. Step 12. Finally, let the nut roll cool down. Then, Cut the Slovak nut roll into crosswise slices and serve. Tips and tricks. Using a weighing scale for this recipe is most accurate than using cups. If the vanilla sugar is unavailable, you can use regular sugar, then add a teaspoon of vanilla extract. Keep in mind that you can store leftovers for about 3 to 4 days. Not only that, but also, it can still make excellent toast. Just make sure to cut it into thick slices. And it still tastes delectable even if the bread starts to go quite stale. So with that, you can spread it with your favorite jam. Moreover, it would be best to knead the dough till it passes the window pane test. So with that, you should be able to stretch a small portion of the dough carefully. Then, do it till you can see the light through it. Likewise, before you add the yeast, ensure that your liquid is between 100 degrees Fahrenheit to 115 degrees Fahrenheit. Additionally, ensure to pinch the seams properly. And place the log seam side down. Doing this prevents blowouts. In addition to that, if the bread starts to darken too much, please tent it with foil. Furthermore, make sure to preheat the conventional oven to its lowest setting. Do this while you prepare the dough. After that, please turn it off. Afterward, ensure to let the dough rise in the warm oven. So with that, please do not forget to cover it. If you liked this video, don't forget to like and subscribe.